Hello, how are you? Welcome to part 3 of our Little Golden Book Basics class. That's what we can call this. Okay, so if you have not watched parts 1 and 2, go back and do that before you watch part 3, or you're going to be completely lost, okay? Now, that being said, the way that I do this is not necessarily the way that everybody else does it, but it's the way that I do it, and so it's the way that I'm going to share with you. In our first video, we took a little golden book, and we decided, which book we were going to use, and we figured out, I showed you how to open this and how to extend the spine so that you have basically this right here. Now, just so you understand, I'm going to be using different little golden books as I go through this. So if you see the series and you're watching this back and you have a different, you all of a sudden see a different book, it's because I have books at different stages in order to be able to show you. So this is where you should be at the end of part 1. You should have your golden book open, a spine inserted, and you should have all of your pages numbered and set up. It is important that you number these pages, okay? And that you keep them in order. Again, if you look at these, the top of each set, you should have 1, 3, 5, and then it'll jump to 13, 15, and 17, okay? That is if you have the standard 20 pages, 3 pages per signature, and they will stick out from your book. So that's where you should be at this point. All right, so in the second video, we trimmed these down and then folded over our trim to create new pages that now fit within our new spine. Okay? So if you put these in, they're going to fit within the book. Okay? So that was in part 2. We also selected some papers that we want to add into our journal, and we cut these down to the appropriate size. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the papers that I've selected and make sure that I have single sheets. Okay, so now I have single sheets, and I'm going to take the first 3, the first half. So if you have 4, if you have 8, take 4. But for most of these, they're 3. And if I want the 3 little pigs to be my first page, then it's going to be my first page. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to put in one of my other pages, at least 1, could be 2, and then the next one, and the next one. Now, if I want that to be the end, I want my inside to be this, that's fine. If I want to add another page, I can add another page. Okay, so that's my first one, and I'm going to paper clip this or clamp it or some way. I'm going to hold it together, and then I'm going to move on to the next set. Okay, so now I have my next set. Now I do still have a few papers here. So I'm going to decide where I want to put them. And I think this one I'm going to put on here. So with this one, let's do it here. And I'll explain that piece in a second. I think I'm good. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to decide where you're going to put your pages. And then we'll come right back and we're going to walk through the next part of this, okay? All right. So by now, you should have all of your pages set in. So we're going to go through this one page at a time, okay? I'm going to take the clamps off my first signature. This is page 1. When I turn the page, I have page 2. Then I have a page that I laid in, page 3, page 4, page 5, okay. Page 6, page that I added, that's the center of my signature. Page 7, page 8, another page I put in, page 9, page 10, a page that I put in, page 11, page 12. Okay? Now, you see me do this a lot with signatures, and what I'm doing is I'm just pushing the paper as far in as I can, and by tapping it, I'm allowing the force to take it in there, okay? Now, we're going to go to the next one. We ended on 12. So we're going to take our clamps off of this one. 13, 14, a page that I added, 15, 16, a page that I added, 17, 18, pages that I've added, center of my signature, 19, 20, page that I've added, 21, 22, page that I've added, page that I've added, 23, and 24. Okay. Now, in here, I have this one page that we trimmed down, and I did the little piece on the side here. And all I'm going to do to add that in is I'm just going to glue this down. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue along this edge. And I'm going to fold that right over my signature. Okay? Now later on, I can add some washi tape or something over the top of this and you won't even know it's there. Alright? So now I'm going to close this up. I'm going to bring in the other signature. I'm going to do this again in case you missed it in the other video. Okay? So I have a sheet, a single sheet here that I want to add into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this. Now, I like to do it on my scoreboard because I think it just makes the fold more precise. But you can do it any way that you want. And I'm just going to give it a little line there. I'm not going to press hard because this is thin paper. And I'm just going to fold it over on that line. Okay? And then I'm going to go into my book. I am going to find where I want to add this, which I think is going to be right here. Glue. Centered, and glue that in. Again, I'm going to cover it with washi tape so nobody's going to see it, but it's going to add another page in my book. Okay? All right. So now we have two signatures. We have our paper in our signatures. And we have to make a decision. All right, so now we've come to the point where we have to decide. We have decisions. Do you want to stitch your signatures directly to the cover? You know, one on either side. Do you want to put a hidden binding in where you stitch these onto another piece of chipboard and then you glue that into your book? Do you want to stitch the signatures and use elastic and just put them in with elastic so that the whole signatures can come out? These are decisions that you have to make. For this book, I'm going to be using a hidden binding system. Okay, so we're going to be cutting a piece of chipboard that fits within our spine. We're going to stitch these to it, and that's how we're going to put it in. Okay, so we need to measure our spine and get out our chipboard. So I'm going to be right back with that, and I will show you how to measure this all out and how we're going to measure where our holes are going to be on our signatures so we can stitch them. Okay, I'll be right back. So I have a sheet of medium weight chipboard, and we need to cut a strip of this. So the first thing we need to do is decide how long that strip needs to be. So we're going to measure the length, which is 7 7/8. I have to get my pad. Seven 7/8, and I need to know the width of my spine. Now, if you have a board, you could certainly do this on the board, or you can just measure from where this one comes up and this one comes up, which for me is going to be about 1 1/8, because I want to leave a little bit of wiggle room. So that's my starting point. So I'm going to get my trimmer. And I'm going to cut this down to 1 1/8. There we go. 1 1/8. Bring this over. put that there. And all I'm doing at this point is checking for size. Can I close my book? And I can, without any issues. Okay? So now, just want to make sure that I have this right. So I'm going to just draw a line here where the top of my spine is, and that's what I'm going to cut off. And that is going to become my hidden binding. Okay? So when I put my signatures in, I am going to stitch them onto this piece here, and then I'm going to glue this piece in. So I'll be using some trim or lace or something to disguise this, piece here. So the next part is deciding where we're going to be putting the holes in our signatures, and I'll be right back. All right, the next part is making a template. And so what I do is I just take a nice piece of chipboard, or lightweight chipboard or heavyweight cardstock. I put my binding for my hidden binding on here. I make sure that I have it lined up at the top and along the side. And then I just take my pen and I just draw a line around it, and then that's what I'm going to trim. Okay? So I'm going to trim that off right there. Trim that off. I'm going to double check. I need to take a little bit more off this here. Okay, fabulous. All right, so now I have a piece that I can use as a template. So all I'm going to do is find the center. Sorry, I usually do this in pencil, but it's hard for you to see. I'm going to find my center, draw a line. I'm going to put a T at the top. That's the top. Okay? Then I'm going to divide. This is about just over a ½ an inch. So we're going to come out from that line. Where I want my signature at. I'm going to draw that line, and then I'm going to come out the same distance on the other side. And I'm going to draw that line. Okay? Now, I have to find center. So the easiest way to do that is if you have one of these rulers, you have the 0 center. This is my center. This is my center. Now, I'm going to come in a 1/2 inch on the bottom. Here and here. Same thing at the top, 1/2 inch. Here, here. And then I'm just going to split that difference. So for me, that is roughly 3.5. So 1 3/4 here and here. Here and here. Okay? Now if I draw lines across my marks, I have my points where I'm going to put my holes. So hole, 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 hole. Okay, get the idea? Alrighty. All right. Now, do you sew in your books? Do you just glue things down? Do you make a lot of little fussy things and pockets and things that you want to put in? Or do you just, boom, it's done? You have to make that decision. So, from here forward, I'm going to show you in the next videos, I'm going to show you 2 different ways of doing this, okay? One is to put them in right now and then decorate your pages. 2 is to decorate your pages and then put them in. One is easier and the other one is easier to mess up, okay? So once you have your pages in and they're all in order into your 2 signatures, and you have made your template for your hidden binding, and you have your piece for the binding, or the template to sew them straight in, you're good for this one, okay? In the next one, we're going to talk about decorating our signatures and the 2 different ways of doing it, okay? So if you're just going to push them through, I'll show you that method. And if you're going to use the hidden binding, I'll show you that method. And I'm also going to show you the 2 different ways that people decide how they're going to decorate. So this is it for this one. Listen, if you're new here and you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Hit that red button, like me, ring my bell, share me with all your friends, and then your friends can be my friends, and my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends, and before you know it, we have a giant crafting community. I do lives on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 11, 12, and 1 across the country. I post videos on Mondays and Wednesdays, and at the beginning of this series, January 8th, 2022, I am starting this Build a Book with Me series. We're doing a little golden book first, and then we're going to move into an upcycled book cover, and then we're going to make a book cover of our own. So those are the 3 free classes that I'm going to be offering for the first part of this year. There'll be others as we go through, but those are the first 3 for the first part of this year. So if you have not watched parts 1 and 2, I will link them below. Go and watch those, and you will be all caught up to where we are now. If this seems a little slow to you or a little elementary, it's because I am doing this for people that have never done a journal before or have never done a little golden book journal before. So if you feel it's a little bit slow, I apologize. I'm trying to work so that everybody can work at their own pace. All right, that's all I have for you. Listen, do me a favor, stay safe, okay? Bye-bye.